Hello, my name is Tizian Scherbaum. I am going to talk about my favorite youth place network. I am 22 years old. I'm currently a medical student in the sixth semester of my doctorate. I have 9 years of playing experience with the Vienna Vipers and youth national teams. As a youth player, I've won multiple Austrian championships playing as a center and as a safety. And I also have won two third places in the Austrian men's championship with the Vipers playing safety. I also have around 5 years of coaching experience. I have won multiple under 15 and under 17 titles with the Vienna Vipers. And I'm also a coach for Team Red since 2016. For all of you who don't know, Team Red is the unofficial Austrian national team for the youth teams up until now, because our official national teams only start again when we have a European Championship, hopefully this fall, where I will hopefully coach the boys under 15 team for Austria. Today I will talk about some of my favorite plays, but first I want to talk shortly about what practice looks like with me and with my Vipers youth teams. Usually we have 60 to 75 minutes of practice time. That usually consists, like I would think, like most of all practice you do as well, starts with a warm-up and stretching for about 10 to 15 minutes. What is most important to me about the warm-up is that I finish the warm-up with some kind of competitive game, just to get the competitive levels in my players up for the upcoming practice. After that, I like to split my team up into the units. So I will do practice with the offense and practice with the defense. Especially in preseason practices, unit work is usually very long, so that the route running gets up to par, that the plays get up to par, and on the defense side, that the backpedaling, the braking on routes, the flag pulling gets up to par. But I always like to at least play 20 to 30 minutes a practice, so that offenses react with the right decisions to defensive adjustments and vice versa. So I always like to play quite long, so that players know what to do in the game situations. If time's left, I also do conditioning, but I'm not the biggest fan of conditioning with youth teams when we only practice once a week for 60 minutes. Time is too precious for me to spend it on conditioning with youth teams. Now I will talk about seven plays that I like to run very much, and I usually run multiple times in every game. First play I'm going to talk about is called Over and Under. The most important thing to this play for me is that everybody runs his routes very precisely, because that is the most important thing about this play especially. It works the very best against a man coverage on the defensive side, but it also works if in a zone coverage the corner on the strong side of the play, so on this side of the play, plays sloppily. Now we'll talk about how the quarterback should read this play to make the right decision. So the main read on this play is the wide receiver running the flattest slant from the weak side. If we play against a team that likes to play man coverage, the main thing that the center has to do, the center has to run his route so that he basically blocks the defender from the weak side slant. I know blocking is illegal, but the main purpose of the center on this play is to just block the player that's trying to defend the slant from the weak side. If the opponent doesn't play a man coverage but plays a zone coverage like a cover 2, the quarterback should look if he can throw the ball to the flattest slant, either in between the two safeties or if the player running the flattest slant can get on the outside of the corner on the strong side because the corner over pursues other routes or just doesn't stick to his assignment. So in that case, I'd like to get the ball either in the middle or outside the most outside corner. If you run this play multiple times in a game and the opponents catch up to what you're doing, you can vary this play a little bit. If the opponents have caught up to what you're doing, you could give the slot receiver a corner so that he binds the safety on the strong side, which should usually free up the deep, very, very deep slant from the strong side receiver. I would like to try to show you how this play looks in action. Let's see if it works.
Before you go ahead, when are you using this play? Using it as your coming out play, middle of the field play, or just everywhere?
Usually you can play this particular play, you can play basically everywhere. It is usually very effective as a first down play, or if you get close to the end zone and you spread it out. Most youth teams go to a man coverage, and therefore there this play would and was always very effective. That works.
Are you trying to show your video?
Yeah. I've made it that it runs pretty slow-mo-y. Just tell me if it doesn't go smoothly, then So we have a short yardage situation. We see that the opponents play man across the field. On our right side, where we have the weak side receiver with the flattest slant, he's probably the best player playing flag football in Austria. It's under 15 at the time, so I am pretty sure that he wins his one-on-one matchup with his player opposite of him. So I chose this play for this situation, and let's see if it works. As you can see, the corner right about now, the route of the center right about now creates a problem for the two, because these two DBs nearly run into each other, creating a little bit of space for my receiver. And as you will see, the quarterback throws the ball a little bit late. I'd like the ball to be thrown right about now, because now my receiver is gaining the separation he needs to make the touchdown. Even though the ball is late, it arrives, he catches it, and we have a touchdown. Now I'll go back to the presentation.
Can you play one more time, Tizian?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. If he's not open, is there a secondary read?
On this particular play, when I run it against man, there really is just this one read. It's a primary read, and because it's man, if another receiver wins his route, of course he can throw to that secondary receiver, but we basically have it just this primary read or die.
Okay.
So my next play is called flood play. It is called this because at the end of the play we have a flood to the left side, because we have a deep go route, then we have a intermediate depth 10-8 to 10 out route, and we have a flat slant route. This play works best against the cover 2 coverage, because we have only 2 defenders defending routes on 3 separate depths on their side. And this is also the main read then, because the defense in a cover 2 normally only has 2 players on each side, and we have 3 routes on one side. The quarterback should just read the strong side, see if and which player is getting open. Normally, the safety on the strong side takes the go, so he's away, and also the cornerback usually bites on the slant route, so the intermediate 8 to 10 out route is usually up. If the corner doesn't go for the slant route but takes the 10 out route, the slant route should be open right about at the middle of the field, because the corner on the other side is bound by the quick out route. If you don't play against a cover 2 but a man coverage, for example, the combination on the right side would free up one or the other player, because again, the center is there to block the opposing player in a man coverage situation if he runs a slant route and the other player runs the quick out route on this side. On this play, you don't have really much any variations, because you have multiple routes, and usually you have multiple players roaming free at the end of the play, so you don't have to vary that much on this particular play. The next one, I don't know who it was, but I think Joe Cotterill on the last clinic talked about how he loves this play, and 3 hitches with one other route to keep the defense honest is just really one of the most effective plays in all of flag football. And like he said, it really is just like a run in football. You have sure yards that you get 95 out of 100 times, and it works really just against every coverage, because it is the ball's that quick out of your hands that there's very little you can do against. On this play, the quarterback can most of the times predetermine before the ball has even been snapped to which receiver the ball's going to go. He should just look at which receiver has the best matchup opposite for him, give him the ball 2 yards and let him run for 3 yards. And you don't need more than 5 yards on every down to get over the midline. So this play is pretty effective. And what makes this play even better is that you have so much room for variations, because if you, for example, have a defense that goes very aggressively down on the hitches, you could throw the ball to the post route. If all 4 defenders go down on the hitches, think the ball's going to get thrown to a hitch like every other time, the post route could get open over top. Or if one particular player goes down very aggressively, you just let your receiver run a double move and get him free over the top. Yeah, that's pretty much everything you can say about this play. It's like a run, but in flag football, where it's kind of uncommon to run the ball.
How do you tag the plays? Do you just say who?
What do you mean exactly?
How do you tell who to run the post? Do you just tag it, or you just say you run the post, or how do you call the play? You guys know?
Usually, this play I predetermine that the outside receiver on the strong side runs the post.
Okay.
Usually, I can change it up, because we use a number system for the routes, and if I want to change routes, I say name of the play and the route he should run instead of the route that has been called.
Okay.
Oh, your mom just wrote.
Next play, I just called 689 because I didn't know any better name for the play, but it is just the routes that create the problem are the 6 route on the left side, the 8 route on the in the slot, and the 9 route on the outside. What does this play work against best? As most of the other plays, it works best against a cover two defense because we have 3 deep push routes and only 2 players that really should defend the deep. This play works well pretty much everywhere on the field, but you should have enough space to have the threat of throwing the ball deep. So if you get inside the opponent's 10, you can still play this play, but if you get further down the field, this play isn't as effective as it would be if you have a longer field to go. For the quarterback, the main read for him is what does the safety on the weak side of the play do? The safety on this side of the field really has to defend 2 routes. He has to defend the 6 route and he has to defend the 8 route. So the quarterback just reads what he does. If the safety goes up and defends the 8 route, 6 route should be wide open. And if the safety defends the 6 route, the 8 route should be wide open. If you play this play against the cover 3, it is not quite as effective as it is against a cover 2 because you have 3 defenders for deepish routes and 3 deep-ish routes. The only thing that could stress the defense enough that you make a deeper completion is you have 2 routes that end up in the vicinity of the middle safety, and the middle safety also has to decide if he wants to go for the flatter route and lets the outside safety defend the deeper route, or if he goes for the deeper route and the outside safety also looks at the deeper route that the 6 route could get open. But it's the most effective against the cover 2. And with this play, you could also vary it a bit in the way that you give the left receiver, instead of a 6 route, also a go route, a 9 route, so that the safeties pretty much immediately have to turn to the outside to react to the threat of giving up a deep ball to the 9 route, and the 8 route in the middle gets pretty wide open. Next play is an option play I like to run with my teams because usually my quarterback is one of the 2 best athletes on the team, and so I can play this play. I wouldn't recommend it for coaches who have quarterbacks that aren't that agile and that fast, but for my teams it usually works pretty well. And what makes this play successful in my opinion is that you really play 5-on-5 because the defense has to defend all 5 players. On a normal play, they would usually only have to defend the 4 players that run routes. But on this one, they have to defend all 5 players. What does it work against? It works well against the cover 2, and it works even better against the cover a man coverage, I would say. For the quarterback, what he has to determine before the play even starts is, does the defense adjust to the fact that there are 2 possible quarterbacks in the backfield? For example, do they line up a second blitz at 7 yards, or do they play with a middle linebacker that stands pretty much in front of the center at 1 yard or something like that? That's the first thing you have to take into account when running this play, is that the quarterback knows what he does with this information, that he won't have that much time if they do shenanigans like that. When the play starts, like, I don't know if you understand what my lines mean. The center snaps the ball to the running back catches the ball, gives the ball to the quarterback, and the quarterback then has the option to run or pass. If we play this play against a man coverage, the quarterback should assess rather quickly if there are multiple blitzers coming at him. If that's the case, one receiver has to be wide open. He should throw the ball immediately there and let the receiver pick up the yards. If only one blitzer is coming, the quarterback should assess if he, as the quarterback, is faster and more agile, or if the blitzer is more agile. If the quarterback thinks to himself that he himself is the better athlete, he should just take off, get the yards. He would easily get 5 to 10 yards if he gets by the blitzer. If he doesn't think he's the better athlete and the blitzer would take care of him, he should rather quickly see if his receiver running the slant route gets open, because slant route in man-to-man is pretty difficult to defend. So he should look that he gets the ball out rather quickly to the slant route. If you play this play against a zone coverage, a run of the quarterback isn't that effective, because usually in a zone coverage, all the eyes of the DBs go to the quarterback, and they would see when the quarterback takes off and pulls flag rather quickly. But this play creates in a cover 2 or even a cover 3 defense, it creates a very difficult decision for the cornerback standing on the side that is also occupied by the running back. So the cornerback on this side has to make a decision. He has to make the decision if he wants to stay with the slant route, then the swing route would get quite wide open, or if the cornerback decides to stay with the swing route, then the slant route gets quite open. Yeah, that is pretty much the main read if they play a cover 2 defense. Either way, you get pretty easy 5 yards. I also have a video for this again. Just find it. Here it is. So in this case, we have a defense that looks kind of like a cover 2, but pretty tight and in the middle of the field. We have my team has a quarterback that is pretty agile, but the blitzer is also pretty quick. So I don't know what he thought if he would win if he ran the ball, but let's see what he does. Right about now, you see that this cornerback looks at the slant route. So if I was playing the quarterback and if I could throw the ball, I would have just taken the ball through to my running back that ran the swing route. But the quarterback wins against the blitzer and makes a nice 10-yard gain. I'll play it again. Yeah. And you could also vary this play a bit if you wanted to. If you know that you're going up against the man coverage on this play, and if you trust the ability to recognize coverage from your running back, then you could give the running back the option to just break the route back and have it make a swing with a comeback or swing with an in route. But if you don't have a running back that knows how to read the defense, it isn't that effective. Or if you want to take a deeper shot, you could also give the wide receiver on the right side a go route so that it binds the safety and the quarterback has an easier time to throw to the flat corner route from the center. This is one of my favorite plays that I think, or I would like to think, came up myself some years ago. I've used it since then, and in the youth leagues, it usually was quite successful. It works in a few different situations, but you gain 3 to 5 yards pretty constantly with this play. So the play starts with an under center snap to the quarterback, who has then the option to hand the ball off to his wide receiver that has then the ability to run with the ball. This play you also have to start reading before the snap. The one thing the quarterback has to read before the snap is what the cornerback on the left side of the field does and where he stands. If the cornerback on the left side stands here or even further to the side of the other receivers, the quarterback should take the ball and hand it off, let the wide receiver run, because he has the better starting position to run the ball than the cornerback to pull his flag. If the cornerback stands in position like here, the quarterback should only fake the handoff and look to the dagger concept on the left side. This concept consists of a quick out route, a 8 to 10 in route, and a go route from slot. In a cover 2 defense that is pretty common against this type of trips formation, usually the player running the 10 in route has quite some space when running his route, because you have the corner that covers the route ran from the center. You have the safety that usually covers the go route over top, which leaves the 10 in route with pretty much space and a pretty easy throw for the quarterback. I also have a video for this play. We have a trips formation to the left side, and the opponents line up in what I reckon is a cover 2 defense. And what I and the quarterback see right from the get-go is that the receiver in question, the cornerback in question, stands in position. So the quarterback should just fake the handoff, pull the ball back out again, and throw it to one of the receivers on the left side. Let's see what he does. He pulls the ball out and has a 3-and-3 on the left side. He throws the ball to the center, which is okay, even though it's incomplete. It was not the quarterback's fault. But if he would have kept his cool a little better, he would have had an easy 8-yard throw to the receiver running the 10 in route. So the concept worked quite well against the defense, but the quarterback's ability to read the defense right was lacking a little bit. My next and last play today is one of my favorite plays to use in the red zone. This play isn't from me. I copied this play from the Indians, our main rival in the Austrian flag football league. They used this play in the red zone pretty much all the time in 2019. Sometimes I could call out the play to my teammates and we couldn't defend it, even though we knew what play was coming. What is the most important thing about this play? It is timing, because we have a motion coming from the left side, which should be well timed with when the ball is snapped, because our receiver on the left side is the most important player on this play. So what's also important about the play is that the quarterback reads the defense while the receiver on the left side is motioning inwards. He should be able to assess what kind of coverage the defense runs. He should be able to tell during the motion if the defense runs a man coverage or if the defense runs a zone coverage. Usually the way to tell if the defense runs a man coverage or if they run a zone coverage is when the player in motion triggers multiple people from the defense to move and change their position. It's usually a good sign that the defense is running a zone coverage, but in case the receiver motions and only one player, usually a player opposite of him, motions with him, it's a good sign that they play a man coverage. And now to the read. During the play, the main read of the quarterback is to see if the three receivers on the right side can block their players so that he just has to throw a short, quick 2-yard throw to his receiver, who then can run the other 3 yards easily into the end zone and just put the ball into the end zone. If for whatever reason the defense can cover this pretty hard to cover flat route from the receiver, it's usually because in a zone defense, the player that is lining up the most to the outside. So if I just may draw what I mean with a zone defense in that case, it's that the defense stands like this and divides the end zone in, can make a straight line, divides the end zone into quarters. Then usually it's the case that this guy jumps the flat route, which opens up the go route on his side. On this play, you don't have that many variations and you don't have to vary very many things, because usually the underneath route opens up or the go route opens up on that side. I also have a video for this play, which is not from our under 15 team. It's from our second team that plays in the 3rd division in Austria. And what you will see is that the timing of this play is way off. They executed this play rather poorly, but it worked either way. So I was happy with the outcome, but I was not happy with the execution. So we see the motion from the left side, multiple people move. He isn't too busy moving with him. And because of that, I would think now that they play zone coverage. Let's see if that changes. Quarterback snaps the ball way too late, but the player on the outmost right side jumps the flat route, leaves the go route wide open. Quarterback has an easy throw to receiver in the back of the end zone, who makes the touchdown. Let's play it again without me stopping it. With this touchdown play, I would like to end my presentation and thank you for your attention and for listening to me. Thanks.
Tizian, we have questions.
Thank you, Tizian.
Tizian?
Yeah.
We have questions though, okay?
Yeah.
So of course in youth, right? How are you teaching the communication? So first, how are you teaching the design of the play and like communicating the play to the players who have never played or haven't played that often? Is it more of a repetitions, or is it how are you perfecting the play? You said the timing's off. how do you get the timing on with your youth players that you deal with who are new or haven't been playing that long?
Yeah. So usually I'd like to take some time in the off season where I meet with the players virtually, where we talk the plays through and talk every position through, why he runs that route and what his assignment on this play is. If his assignment on this play is to just run the route to free up another route, or if his route is usually the go-to route, and on the field it has to go through repetition, repetition, repetition. You can only perform plays with the right timing if you repeat them 1,000 times. So I think both parts are very, very uh, uh,
Important.
important. Thank you. Very important, but I think the repetition is far more important than talking them through the play.
Okay. I have two more questions, but if anybody else has questions, please jump in um, and ask away. As far as in youth, if not, I'll ask mine, and then you can ask yours. How do you choose your quarterbacks in youth? What are you looking for, and how do you train your quarterbacks?
That's quite funny, because I have never been able to play quarterback well, and I still cannot throw a very good spiral. So the quarterback practice usually goes to my fellow coach Jürgen Gatterbauer. He teaches them the basics, and I'm more of the guy that teaches them then how to read the defense. So I'm not that good in teaching a quarterback how to throw. I'm rather good in teaching him quarterback where to throw and how to see the field.
Yeah, it's the most important part. How do you? I mean, do you know? Can you give a little bit of history on how the Vipers youth team is operated and started? Because I think that's very valuable information for.
Yeah, of course. So the Vipers youth team started in, I guess, I think it was the early 2000s, and it was started by Jürgen Gatterbauer. He is a teacher at the Wentzgasse Gymnasium in Vienna, and he had the idea that in 2003, I guess it was, that he made a voluntary class on afternoons where students from each grade could play flag football, and that was pretty much the birthing hour of the Vipers youth team. So it is still being operated as a class in the Wentzgasse for students from all grades, and that's how the Vipers started. So we started as a school team, and as the school team got older, the school team played in the FLA, so in the Austrian Championships, where they still were something like 17 to 18, and that's how the Vipers youth team and the Vipers men's team started.
Yeah, and I point that out because if you look at Austria's national teams, men and women, they have a lot of players who come from the Vipers or come
from that era of playing in the school league, right?
Yeah.
I think that's important for talking to
other youth coaches. If you can get your youth built throughout the school where they are always, I think it's beneficial for your national team. And I think that's something that's really cool to look at if you don't have it in your country. But yeah, anybody else has questions? I'm done asking my questions. Anybody else would like to jump in with one last question? The last couple of questions?